Today I want to show you the differences between the DJI Osmo Action and the GoPro Hero 8 and tell you why I sold my GoPro Hero 8 and it was probably the last GoPro I'm going to buy. If this is your first time on this channel, my name is Sloan and I create content here on YouTube for solo creators on the go, people like me who are creating content largely mobile, and so I do reviews of equipment that makes the process easier, and I do tips and tutorials on how to use that equipment so that you can tell better stories. Today we're going to compare the differences between the DJI Osmo Action and the GoPro Hero 8. This is not the GoPro Hero 8, this is the GoPro Hero 7 because I sold my GoPro Hero 8. But for now, let's jump into some of the differences. I'm going to show you a lot of footage shot with both of these cameras at the same time so that you can see the differences between the two very, very clearly. Let's start off with the biggest thing that everybody's super excited about, and that is the stabilization algorithms built into these two cameras. Again, this is the GoPro Hero 7, but what you are going to see was shot with the GoPro Hero 8. To me, the GoPro Hero 8 definitely has the better stabilization, but in my opinion, it's not dramatically better. It's marginally better. It is better, but not massively so. So I think either one of these cameras would do really well for you in the arena of stabilization. But stabilization is not the only thing that makes an action camera good. Something that's very important to most of us who film and most of us who are out there using these things to add to our storytelling ability is how do the colors look straight out of camera. Now, both of these cameras do include a flat picture profile of some sort that you can color grade on your own a little bit, but honestly, if I'm going to use an action camera, I want it to be pretty point and shoot, and I want to be able to bring it into my post-production and just use the footage as is. So how do the colors look straight out of camera? And this is where I think the DJI Osmo Action definitely wins, especially when it comes to skin tone. Now, GoPro has always been known to show very saturated colors. That's kind of been one of their hallmarks. But in this case, I think they went a little too far. I am not a super tan person, but this makes me look very, very, very tan, and sometimes in the right lighting it makes me look orange. But looking at both of these clips side by side, the DJI Osmo Action definitely has the better and the more correct colors for the two cameras, showing what I was seeing in person there in real life. And I like the skin tones on the DJI Osmo Action a lot better. So now that we've talked about the colors a little bit, the next biggest thing that is going to be actually probably one of the most important things for you as a creator is audio. Now, yes, I know you can buy a media mod for $80 that will add an external microphone input as well as a small shotgun microphone to the GoPro. But one of the things that an action camera is good for is just being able to use it as it is. Having a small in your pocket camera with decent audio really adds to your ability to tell stories when you're out and about. And so I want to test and show you how each one of these cameras handles audio in their own regard. I've got a little stream and waterfall down there. Really haven't had any wind today to test the wind, so I'll have to maybe go find a windy spot somewhere. But which one of these makes me sound more focused and which one of them has better audio? So now there's a tiny bit of a breeze blowing from over there. How's the audio sound with the wind? Does it cancel it out like it should? Now, to me, the GoPro 8 definitely has better audio in some cases. It has a more focused sound, and I think that's largely because of the front-facing microphone that they included, which is very nice. But again, if you're going to want to get the best audio, you're going to have to add the media mod to the GoPro Hero 8 to be able to get an external microphone input. Whereas with the DJI Osmo Action, you can just add a USB-C to 1/8 inch jack and then have an external microphone for considerably less cost. And while we're talking about modifications, to be able to have a front screen on a GoPro now, you have to spend $80 for the media mod and then another $80 for the front-facing screen mod. Whereas with the DJI Osmo Action, for even less money in total for the camera, you get both a front and back-facing screen, which I really, really like. And on that subject, being able to remove the lens on the DJI Osmo Action is much better than the GoPro Hero 8's non-removable, non-user replaceable lens. When it comes to battery life, both of these run for about an hour or so. I will say if you're shooting 4K 60 with the GoPro Hero 8, it gets incredibly hot and you get about 45 minutes of runtime, maybe 50 minutes depending on your environment, but it gets hot, and I mean hot to where it's almost uncomfortable to hold. Whereas the DJI Osmo Action, while you're shooting 4K 60, it seems to run about 45 to 50 minutes. It does not get as hot, but it will get warm. Now, another thing that action cameras always struggle with no matter what is low light performance. So we went into this glacier ice cave to give you an example of what low light performance looks like with each of these cameras. Now, anytime you're shooting in low light with an action camera, you're going to want to turn any sort of stabilization off, because the way the algorithm tries to process the image when you're in low light, it makes it look much worse than it actually is. So turning stabilization off will give you the better, cleaner image of the two, although action cameras are not known for their low light performance and we really shouldn't expect that much out of them. But I was surprised that both of these cameras handled this low light area fairly well. I did find out after filming these that if you use the D-Cine-like, the flat color profile in the Osmo Action, you actually can get much cleaner, much better low light performance than what you saw here in this video. And as far as the software goes, I have had the least amount of issues with the Osmo Action of any action camera I have ever owned. Whereas when we're looking at GoPro, I consistently have SD card errors. I consistently have the camera lock up on me, and that's not just the Hero 7 or the Hero 8, but both of them have exhibited the same behaviors, as well as several of my friends' cameras have also had those issues, so I know it's not just me. The other thing that has really turned me off from the GoPro Hero 8 and why I don't think it's a good deal is not only are you getting a camera for $400, but you're not getting a front-facing screen with that. You're getting decent out-of-camera audio, but you're also getting kind of oversaturated, kind of unnatural, in my opinion, looking colors. That coupled with the fact that in both of the GoPro Hero 8s that I had, I was getting SD card errors regularly, and no matter what I did, if I did a total complete format of the SD card on my computer where it zeroed out all the data and then formatted it in the GoPro, I would still get SD card errors. And then it locked up on me, froze up on me, not as often as the Hero 7 does, but often enough that I stopped trusting GoPro to get the shot when I needed the shot, and I started using my Osmo Action more consistently because it just worked for me every time. Now, in the future, of course, I'm sure we'll see updates to both of these this year, later this year with GoPro, and maybe middle of this year with DJI. What I would love to see is an action camera with a 1-inch sensor, not unlike the Insta360R. The reason I'm not jumping on the Insta360R bandwagon yet is to use that camera effectively, you have to take all of the footage that you shoot with it into their software and then export it from their software into your software and edit it from there. And that's an extra step that I don't want to take because I don't have the time. If you want to know more about action cameras and how to use them, some of the best settings, things like that, I put together a playlist right here that you can click on and watch, and I'll see you in one of those videos. If you've got specific questions, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know what you think of both of these action cameras, and I'd like to know which one you use and how your experience has been, especially if you're using the GoPro Hero 8. Cheers.